Gaffer, quick turnaround ahead of Bolton, some more time to digest Saturday's result at the weekend, obviously. How have the players responded to the disappointment of the weekend?
I think they seemed a little bit quiet initially today when they came in, and that's probably what I would expect. But at the same time, then we can't dwell on that. You know, as much as it still kind of hurts mentioning it, talking about it, thinking about it. But as you say, we've got a game to focus on now, and certainly a very difficult game to focus on. So that's what we have to move on from that. And we've obviously looked at, done the video analysis on Bolton today and gone through what team and some sort of tactics on the training pitch. Again, with a quick turnaround, there's only so much training you can do realistically. But we certainly need to at least have an idea of how we'd like to play going into such a difficult game against a team that I expect to be in the Championship next season, whether that be through automatic or whether it be through the playoffs. I think they will be, if it is playoffs, they'll be the team to beat, in my opinion.
Two other teams vying for that place in the Championship at the moment, Portsmouth and Derby. Our performances at their places were pretty good. There were things to take from them, certainly different positives. Can you take anything from those matches, any learnings, things like that, into this one?
I spoke about certainly the Portsmouth game as much as we got ourselves back in it, and obviously a certain decision that we perhaps talked about a little bit made it more difficult. But in the main, what we've got to do is try and certainly start better than we did at Portsmouth. We started edgy in terms of in possession of the football and then switched off to fall behind very early, and at that point certainly thought it was going to be a really long afternoon. And I think against Bolton we've got to try and stay in the game certainly as long as possible, and try then to bring an edginess, because it's a big game for them, it's a big game for us, but they're obviously trying to achieve something. And I think the results at the weekend across all the leagues, in England and Scotland, there's enough results there to show that it's that time of the year when maybe a few nerves do kick in and a bit of pressure builds. So we've got to try and be, I guess, one of the underdogs as such. That can we make life difficult? Can we make Bolton really earn any victory that they're after? And on our side, we've also got to try and carry a threat. I think what we did in both of those games that you mentioned, we had some decent spells in them, and that's, you have to try and get hold of the ball at some points. And Bolton are very heavy on possession. Some quality players across the pitch, and the squad. I looked at that at the weekend. Ridiculously, look at their bench and know that they've still got a couple of players out injured as well. But there's got to be an element of bravery and courage attached to your performance when you play those teams that when you get the ball you've got to try and keep it, because if not, it's just going to keep coming back at you. It'll be relentless. And that's very hard to get anything like a positive result if all you're doing is giving the ball back to the opposition.
Talk about starting quickly, staying in the game for as long as you can. Are those kind of bravery as well? Are those your key messages to the players heading into this?
I think that, and also trying to go into the game with a belief that they can get a result. And I think the Derby games, evidence that it can be done, as in that group of players realistically, because sometimes you can be beaten when you're playing teams that are towards the top end of the league. Before you start, if all you're thinking is, oh, this is a tough game, we're going to get beat. So they've got to find that within themselves. Like I said, I can say certain things, you can show them certain things, but at the end of it, again, I've said this I think a few times already since I've been back, they're the ones that cross the white line. And then it comes to a point where you can influence, again, substitutions, formations, tactics, tweak things, but ultimately they're out there on the pitch and they've got to, play with that belief, and as we just touched on, bravery, courage to want the ball and get on the ball, and also just be up for the battle and the challenge that's in front of them. Because if you do go under at places like that, then certainly it can be a very difficult game, or even more difficult game than it already is.
Just finally, any fresh injury concerns going into it, or is Tom Flanagan the only new absentee?
No, that'll be the only one. So I think we had a couple of lads today feeling a couple of things, but managed to get them out on the grass. So that is a positive, certainly. We don't want to lose more players at such a crucial stage of the season.